Hello, out there in the void. Phoebe Rizzo back at it after taking nearly a week off of actually talking to you all. And, well, I'm a little less alone than usual. Hello, Void.
Hello, mortal. The void has adopted a shell, if you will, because it is awkward to talk in the third person all the time. I am
Yeah,
adapting.
you're doing it very well, also.
Thank you.
So, now, the movie we really watched for this time was actually watched on the same day as my last three videos were all recorded, making it my fourth one of that night. But I did not have the time, inclination, or attention span to record a fourth video. Then I just wanted a break. So we kind of put it off until now. And the movie in question this time, Hold That Ghost. Abbott and Costello film from 1941. And I kind of grew up with this one, so it was kind of a good piece of nostalgia for me to come back to. How about you?
I watched this movie many times when I was small with my best friend. It always made us cry laughing. I do recall, but I haven't seen it in probably about 20 years.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you there. I first stumbled across the Abbott and Costello in general, I think circa middle school, which at this point was longer than I care to remember or admit to, but a long time ago. And there was several of them that were just airing on TV, this one included, and I just happened to record a bunch of them, as well as a lot of the Abbott and Costello Meets series for like the Universal Monsters.
This is still the only Abbott and Costello movie I've seen, I think.
Well, we can fix that later.
We do have quite a few of them now.
Indeed. Not only does this one have three others, I've got now a collection of several, nearly 20 some films here. A lot of Abbott and Costello. So, get to that later. But Hold That Ghost was one of my favorites at the time, and for you, how did it hold up to nostalgia?
Pretty well. It didn't make me cry laughing this time because I think I am not as much into the slapstick as I was when I was a wee lass. But it was still very entertaining and they do still play off of each other very well.
Indeed, I'm kind of in the same boat. I wasn't laughing as hysterically as I was back in the day, but there were some points where it did get me rolling pretty well. A lot of their word plays are still really clever. And I think I enjoyed a different level of joke than I did back then. I think it was more the physical stuff and pratfalls those that got me back then. But now it's more of the clever one-liners and just their back and forths that really got me for it.
My friend and I always repeated the it was just an owl, but with fangs line. For some reason that really got us back then, and it does still kind of get me now.
For me, the bit that stuck out the most to me always was the candle routine, particularly the with one eye watch that candle, with your other eye watch that candle, and with your other eye watch me.
Was there ever an explanation for the candle? There was an
Uh,
explanation for pretty much everything else that wasn't supernatural, but
I think it probably was just something that the mobsters rigged up with either strings or magnets or something just to
hmm.
mess with them, trying to scare them out of the house, which I suppose should bring us to actually describing what the heck the movie was about. So, Hold That Ghost, Abbott and Costello are two gas station employees that also double as temp workers who just happen to climb into the back of a mobster's car just before he's gunned down. After then, as the mobster is the type to not know who to trust, his will left everything he owned to whoever was with him when he died, so they end up inheriting his mansion with a cryptic message that he always kept his money in his head. And after getting a ride out to the mansion with the cabbie picking up a bunch of other comedic characters, they all got stranded in the rain at the mansion and are now stuck there. And then it gets a spooky, particularly as the mafioso who brought them out there turns up dead pretty quick, and then it's who done it, why, and what's going on. Anything you'd like to add?
Oh, it's does have a lot of good entertaining bits with the house, especially in the all the revolving rooms and whatnot, and the old speakeasies.
So, going on to a little bit here. So, the beginning and the end section, what did you think of those with the nightclub?
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, that's not too surprising. So, would you believe that they were both tacked on?
Yeah, I believe that.
So what had happened for this one is Hold That Ghost was originally going to be Abbott and Costello's second starring role. This was their fourth movie, but it was then, but they only had two starring roles before this. And this was intended to be their second, but after their success of Buck Privates. But after an early screening of this one, there was two things that kind of switched it up. The studio was a little leery about doing something so different from Buck Private, so they made a Navy film in the middle. And early screenings of this movie, there was the audience liked it, but they had some questions. Most notably, where were the Andrews sisters? Because they featured so prominently in Buck Privates. So the beginning and the end were written on entirely just to give the Anderson sisters a role.
Huh. I suppose that makes sense. They didn't really seem to have a whole lot to do with the actual plot of the movie, especially the first part.
Yep, so it was just an excuse to have a slight tie-in since the Andrews sisters appeared in both Buck Privates and in the Navy. So test audiences were actually asking about them.
Huh.
And they were a really big actual singing sensation at the time. So
Oh yeah.
I wasn't too familiar with them otherwise, but I know they were very big. Their IMDb is actually quite extensive. I had something else I was going to note on that. Though the beginning nightclub scene does have the unfortunate instance of not aging very racially sensitively.
Yeah. Otherwise, the movie actually held it pretty well. I thought sometimes the older ones don't, but that was really the only thing where a little.
Well, this act is a little racist, but it's doesn't really feature into most of the film itself, and it's largely easy to just ignore. But otherwise, yeah, everything did hold up remarkably well, particularly after so long and through nostalgia goggles. Alrighty, so as I mentioned before, I'm expanding the MacGuffin scale, which, while it should make things easier, it also makes things a little bit harder because now I actually have to think a little bit more nuanced. Before, I'd always, on my 1 to 5 scale, okay, this one's a 3, but a high 3, or this one's a 2, but barely a 2, it was almost a 1. Okay, I've got tired of doing that, where my things seem to be up and down without me being very definitive, so 1 to 10 is now, I'm gonna help branch that out a little bit. So this one I'm definitely rating towards the higher end. It still has a decent amount of watchability, though I probably won't watch it as frequently as I did back in the day. It still was an enjoyable romp. I'm probably going to give this one about a 7 MacGuffins. 7 out of 10. It's not something I'm going to come back to completely frequently, but it does still have a soft spot for me. How about you, Void?
Yeah, I was thinking somewhere in the 7-8 range. Similar. It's not quite as hysterical as I found it when I was a kid, but it is still pretty funny and enjoyable to watch, so yeah. I'll go 8.
Going 8?
I'll go 8.
Okay, so 7 MacGuffins, 8 MacGuffins, and that's pretty much it for Hold That Ghost, I believe. I don't think I have anything else to add to this one, so should be back in probably a day or so to get back to it. I've got a little bit more time off, so probably going to be reviewing more frequently, and if the powers that be allow me to summon the void a little bit more often, well, hey, maybe I'll not just be babbling to myself. Well, Any final thoughts, comments? No.
Hmm. The Void liked the Doctor.
The Doctor was an interesting character. That's for sure.
Enjoyably clueless.
Oh, I suppose also I will comment that the movie originally was going to be called Oh Charlie. Oh Charlie! Well, all right. Have a good night, everyone.